It's doing something, going live. Just thinking about it. We're live now. What is up, everybody? Chrissy Crash here. If you are ready to stop finally being gassed for breath on the track and having your lungs burning and actually get in super awesome derby shape, then you are in the right place today, my friends. Because this is one of these things where it's like I have worked with dozens of skaters that have struggled with endurance, and there are some very simple things that we can do and put in place that will allow you to be a better athlete. And I want to share those with you today so that you are no longer dying after a 2-minute jam or feeling like you're failing your team because you can't keep up on the track, or you're worried about, going in for that second jam in a back-to-back jam. Okay. Let me put in my little ear guy. I just realized I don't have it in. Hang on. Sorry, everyone. Just want to make sure you can freaking hear me. Well, maybe not. It's thinking about it. Guess not. We tried. All right, so that's the thing, right? Is we want to get you to this point where you feel amazing on the track. And because at the end of the day, if you're failing all the time, you're going to stop having fun. And that's no fun, right? So we want to make sure that you are leveling up your endurance, that you are feeling incredible and getting in amazing shape. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And for those of you guys that are watching live, if you could just comment in the chat so I know where you are watching from. And then if you are watching the recording, if you could please comment below with recording, and then that way I know who got the recording, who still needs to get it, all that fun stuff. For those of you guys that don't know me, hello, my name is Chrissy Crash. I have been playing roller derby since, make sure it's all working. There we go. I've been playing roller derby since 2006. I have played bank track. I have played flat track. And roller derby changed my life. I was a smoker, drinker, fast food eating, unhealthy bartender until I found this sport, and it just made me want to be better at derby. It made me want to be a better human. And since then, I have gone on to help hundreds of skaters all over the world do the exact same thing, level up their game, become amazing, powerful humans. And so today I'm going to share with you guys the exact blueprint to level up your endurance on the track as a roller derby athlete. And then at the end, I promise I won't just throw a bunch of information at you and then leave you to your own devices. So if you have questions or maybe you want some additional support, I will give you ways that you can do that. So let's get into it. So I'm going to show you the 4 pieces to leveling up your endurance on the track, but we have a special guest today. So we have Samantha Wilson, AKA Stitch Please, to help us with this workshop. So Samantha has leveled up her derby game in the last few months, built endurance, won MVP blocker, and has done it using this blueprint with Crash Course. Okay, so Samantha, why don't you give us a quick intro? How long have you been playing derby? What were you struggling with before you started working with this blueprint? And then what has happened as a result of that? How do you feel now?
Okay. I'm Stitch Please. I am on Mayhem Roller Derby in East Texas. And I started roller derby a little over 2.5 years ago. Like, just showed up, didn't know how to skate. Showed up with my baby skates the first day, and they taught me how to actually stand. Yay. And now I'm rostered on the team. I'm our interleague. But one of the biggest things for me is growing up, I didn't do any skating. I didn't know how to skate. I think I skated a little bit in middle school maybe, but I wasn't cool. I couldn't go backwards or anything. So this is all really, really new to me. And I am somebody who loves to research and know how to do things. And so when I showed up, I would do the things on the track, and then I was like, I have to work out. And so I would be Googling stuff and trying to find workouts that would somehow translate to the track, but they didn't really. And so I was doing a lot of working out, but not really seeing the results on the track.
Yep.
So yeah, so then I found Chrissy. So
yeah. And how do you feel now? How have things been on the track? I know that you just you had passed 27 and 5, which was a sticking point for you, and then got MVP blocker.
Yes. I didn't think I'd ever pass 27.5. I am 4'11". So my legs are short. And so every single time we would do it, I was like, I will die. And I legit toe stopped across the line at 20, at the 5-minute mark. And then a teammate had to skate to the side because I was blacking out. Like she said I was gone. I was out. But now I know I can do it. But it was I didn't have a lot of endurance. There was last season, my very first season, we played an Iron Derby round, and I legit remember thinking I'm gonna die. I don't know how I'm gonna make it through this. I literally relied on the teammates that were like the veterans who had the endurance and like knew that they were gonna pick up the slack because I had nothing. My tank was empty.
Yeah.
And so through you guys learning how to eat, thinking about electrolytes and extra energy things and finding that perfect like combination to where I can show up and I know I'm going to not only make it, but also like have the nutrition to back it up so that I feel good
Yeah.
and I can get out there as often as they need me to be out there.
Yep, totally. And the thing that I think is so interesting is like the four things that we're going to talk about today,
Mhm.
they're not actually that complicated,
Yes.
right?
But if you try to fight it on your own, because that was my big thing. I researched it and there's like other people that talk about roller derby, but nobody like breaks it down to where it's like a formula that you can follow. And that's what I like. Something that I can be like, okay, write this down, do this and check it
Yeah.
off. Whereas like everybody else is like, try this one thing and it'll solve
Mm,
everything. And it doesn't work that way. Yeah.
yeah, there's a couple different pieces that go into it. I love it. All right, well, let's dive into these. So, for those of you guys that are watching and listening, so there are four key pieces to leveling up your endurance on the track. And I invite you to consider if I tell you these and you go, yeah, obviously, but you're not doing them, then execution is your problem. Information can't solve. If information solved all problems, everyone would be on the all-star team. So I'm giving you the information, but the execution has to be there too. So the first piece of this, if you want to have killer endurance, one of the number one things that you need to do is you need to strength train. Okay. And like Samantha said, it really has to be workouts that are going to translate to the track. One of the biggest mistakes that I see skaters make is they think running, like, oh, I just got to like go running. Like running is going to make, I see Samantha nodding. Running's going to get my endurance better on the track. But think about it. Think about when you're running. It's like slow, it's repetitive, it's straightforward. It's like the opposite of everything that we do in roller derby. So if you think that running is going to be the thing that boosts your endurance for roller derby, you are just flat out wrong. Okay. Now, is it better than nothing? Yeah, sure. But if you want more efficient ways to boost your endurance, you need to be strength training. Now, the way that I want you to think about your strength training, and Samantha can probably attest to this, is you want to think about doing circuit training.
Mhm.
Right? Think about doing workouts where you have one exercise lined up with another, lined up with another, lined up with another, so that your workouts are mimicking what we're doing on the track. Okay. Not just like, oh, I'm going to do some squats and then I'm just going to wait and chill. Maybe I'll do some more. Like you want to actually be keeping your body working and working and working. So Samantha, do you want to talk a little bit about how are workouts for you?
Oh, I love them. Well, so Sin is my main coach, original Sin, and
Love her.
we just had our one-on-one today and we were talking about that because in our group, like group chat, like a couple weeks ago, somebody was like, yeah, my workout today was 100 burpees. And I told her, if you ever do that to me, I'm ghosting you. Like we're not doing that because I cannot do one thing. She does circuits for me and I love it
Mhm.
because I will literally be like, okay, there's 3 rounds of these like 2 exercises and I get done
Mhm.
with them. And then I have to actually reset my room because the next set of 3 is something completely different and it's working every single part. And most days I end up on the mat at the end and I've stretched and I'm laying there deciding if I've survived the workout or not, or if I'm like in an alternate dimension or something because they can be so hard. Like I'll get to the end on a couple of them and she surprises me with, hey, so also do a finisher of 20 minutes on your Peloton bike. And I was like, oh, I thought I was done. I was like, okay. And then I get on there and I can do it. But I have to say, yeah, the running thing, the first year that I was rostered, I joined a running club here in my town and they're crazy. They run at 5 in the morning. And so I was having to get up at like 4:30 and I did it. And I was not gaining anything because all I was doing was running with them several times a week. And I mean, I thought maybe that would help my endurance, and really it just sucked the life out of me because I cannot be up that early. And and it was just a lot on me. I needed naps, whereas I
Mhm.
can do the workouts that Sin gives for me and I feel like I'm dying in the moment, but because of the nutrition and the way the workouts are, I get
Mhm.
done with them and I can have a full functioning day and do all the things I need to do. So, but yeah,
Yep.
I mean, the girls, I mean, I'm sure this happens on all teams, but we always smack each other's butts. And everyone's like, yours is hard as a rock now. And it was not when I started. So I can test that like all the strength training is changing my dimensions and everything, which wasn't a goal, but like, yay, because
Yeah.
I'm
It doesn't,
booty.
it
So
doesn't, booty gains don't suck. You
yeah,
know,
and
and
like, and I
I'm
need
never mad
that
at booty gains.
with all the height I've got, 4'11". I'm like, I need a little bit of extra booty to like hit people with because
Yeah.
there's nothing back there. So yeah.
Exactly, exactly. So, for those of you guys that are listening, a really great way to think about this is grab three different Derby specific exercises. Maybe it's lunges, squats, and then like push ups, right? Because you have to get yourself off the ground and things like that. So, you could take lunges, squats, and push ups, and you could do those in a circuit, and then pick three more exercises and do those in a circuit. If you check out my Facebook today in the afternoon, this is Wednesday, August 14th. If you want to go back to this, if you're watching it in the future, go to my Instagram. I'm putting out a 4 week workout series that fits perfectly inside of this. Okay. So that's the first piece, is doing strength training, but doing it in a circuit format is one of the biggest things that you can do instead of things like running. I also love a good spin bike situation. I think it's way better than running because it puts you in like sort of a crouched, almost derby like position, and you're typically doing intervals versus just long, steady distance.
Hmm.
The second piece is training duration. So when you're first starting out at Derby, like, yeah, maybe doing a 20-minute workout as an entry level kind of thing is great because, again, something is better than nothing. But eventually, if you want to be able to kick ass effortlessly at doing a game, your workout should be an hour.
Hmm.
Because if you can work out for an hour, you can play roller derby for an hour. And this was a big one for you, right?
Yes. Yeah. I used to do the whole thing like I have an Apple Watch and it would be like, hey, minimum of 30 minutes working out each day. And so I was
Mm-hmm.
like, I checked that box. Like every day I'm like, I did something for 30 minutes. And then once I got through, because I did the 21-day challenge with y'all first. And so those
Mm-hmm.
ones were smaller workouts. And then once I got into Crash Course, it was like, oh, this is a really like it gives you the estimation of like time. And I'm like, an hour and 10 minutes. Like constantly moving. I mean, there's like little breaks in between, like 15
Mm-hmm.
seconds, but like what are you gonna do with that? Try to chug some water and breathe for a second. And so that yeah, it's just, I mean, they're really long workouts, but they're not all cardio. You'll be like 1 second you're doing some strength training and you're working on lower body, and next thing she's got me doing upper body, and then
Mm-hmm.
there'll be some cardio blasts in the middle there or towards the end. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like I said before, it was like I got to the end of a workout and it was already an hour and I'm like, I have burned my full calories that my goal, my watch tells me is done. It's already done. And then she's like, do 20 minutes on Peloton, and I was like, cool, cool, cool. But it did get me in that mindset of like, if I had to, I guess technically I could be in the whole bout. Like,
The whole game.
gosh, I hope that never really happens because like I don't ever want to do that. And I'm like, I would probably sleep for 12 days after, but like I could, I guess maybe do it if I had to. And so that sits in your mind when you're like, if I can do an hour, because our practices, most of us have like 2 hour practices, but you're not skating the whole time. Like sometimes you're listening or you're waiting in line to like rotate in and stuff. And so once you've like had to do it all by yourself for an hour, you're like, oh, okay, I could do this. I could do this.
Yeah.
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 And it makes you unstoppable. Being in that kind of high level of activity for an hour like that makes 2 minute jams feel easy. It makes doing, back to back jams easy. Like there were points where it was like I was going in a jam, 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 rest, jam, 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 rest. And it's just like, well, blocking, not jamming, but
Yeah.
but
Same.
it just to be clear, I
Yeah.
mean, but there were times where it would be like, okay, block, okay, can you come in and jam? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But when you have that kind of training, not only is it physically training about your body, but it's mentally training your body. And we'll talk about that one a little bit too.
Hmm.
Part number three is nutrition and hydration. So for practice days and game days, Nutrition is really, really huge. Obviously, nutrition every day in general, but understanding what to be eating before practice, understanding what to be putting in your body during practice, and then after practice is really, really important. So, what were the big things for you that you learned, Santa?
I was not eating enough.
Mhm.
I, fell into that group of people who grew up like thinking you needed to diet all the time. And so when I became an athlete, I was like, I don't know what that means. Like I don't know how to eat with any of that. And so for the first, year and a half of my roller derby time, I legit would just be like, oh, I must need a whole bunch of carbs. So I was like the girls on the team would be like, you need to carb load before your bouts. And so I'm gluten free and I have all these food allergies. So I was making like this gluten free pasta and then like smothering it in cheese. Okay. And so this is what I was doing. Yes. The night before every single bout, that's what I was eating. And then the day of, I would have a little bit more. And I remember just feeling like absolute crap. And
Absolutely.
yeah, and then I met y'all and you were like, no, you need lots of protein. And I remember like setting up my macros and being like, I am 4'11" and I'm supposed to eat 170 grams of protein. Like that seems like an insane amount to me. And I was eating more calories than I ever like have ever. Like even when I went back and looked, like way more. And
Yeah.
that was insane to me because once again, I'm 4'11". I don't think I should be eating that many calories. So it took a little bit. My body in the beginning was kind of like, oh my gosh, this is so much food. But now I like crave that protein and I
Hmm.
crave the good food. And I can tell if I've had an off day or I've eaten something that I'm like, oh, we went out to eat and like I kind of overdid it on this like extra thing. Ooh, like I can feel it the next couple of days. But yeah, eating properly is so important and it helps with my brain chemistry and like my
Hmm.
body too. I have thyroid disease. And so my body is very sensitive and it can get really off with like anything. And I can, if I have cross contamination, I can be sick for days. And so, really focusing on like eating the right things, eating properly, hydrating, like we were discussing earlier. I've always got like
Yeah.
1 or 2 drinks, and just always finding new protein things. Like, I'll be like, okay, I'm craving this. How do I add protein to it to make sure I'm
Mhm.
reaching that every day? And then eating carbs, but not eating carbs that are all bread based. Like that's what I used to do was like, oh, everything has to be like pasta or bread. Which not gluten-free bread is not that great. So I was kind of like, ooh, this is gross. And now it's like, oh, okay, so veggies and fruits are pretty much where I get the majority of my carbs from. And so just making those
Mhm.
transitions, like at dinner, I'll be like, oh, I make HelloFresh a lot for us for our meals. And so I just give my husband like all the potatoes because I'm like, I'm not going to feel good eating those slathered in
Mhm.
what they have. And so I'll always just pull out extra vegetables and have my protein and vegetable for dinner. So yeah,
Nice.
it's both
Nice.
phases.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Two things you said that cracked me up. First of all, the carb loading thing. Anyone that's listening to this, for the love of God, let
Yeah.
us set it straight. Carb loading is something that like endurance runners do, and an actual carb load is not just eating carbohydrates the day before. Carb loading is actually an entire like 2 week process where you deplete all the carbohydrates out of your system and then you reload them all back in, and it is a very long process. Eating carbs the night before is just eating carbs.
And it's
And
it's a huge stereotype. Like you think about any movie that you watch that has like athletes in it, like they all are like, yeah, I've got a carb load before the game. And I'm like, and these are these
no,
like huge beefy guys, and you're like, okay. And I'm like, it makes me physically nauseous now thinking back to what I stuffed myself with the night before
I
and
know.
then wondered why I woke up feeling absolute crap and being
Yeah.
like, how am I going to perform today?
Well, and also like carbohydrates, when you store carbohydrates in your body, you also cause your body to store a lot of extra water. So you were probably then walking onto the track about 5 to 10 pounds heavier than
Yeah.
you were normally used to practicing. So now you're trying to be agile and fast, but shoving an extra 10 pounds in your body. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Gross.
Yeah, it
Gross.
makes such a difference. But obviously, eat carbohydrates, everyone. For the love of God, eat carbohydrates. Comment below with your favorite non bread non-pasta carbohydrate, because I think this is another key piece. One of
Mhm.
the things that I personally focus on, that I think when it comes to endurance, you need to be eating the right kind of carbohydrates. You need to be eating whole carbohydrates. I personally love black beans. I love white rice. I love brown rice. I love
Mhm.
quinoa. I love barley, oats. These are all really, really great things. So especially if you have like a long practice coming up, you
Mhm.
need to make sure that you are eating some carbohydrates directly before practice. This isn't carb loading. This is actually circulating carbohydrates into your system so that you have free floating available energy for your muscles to use. And that's the difference, is it needs to be directly beforehand that you're eating those carbohydrates. Also during, if you have a long practice or like a back-to-back games, like at halftime during your game, snag half a banana. If you have a long practice, bring some dried cranberries or dried fruit and eat them on the side. Those
Mhm.
things can make a big difference, because if you have a 3 hour practice and maybe you're doing great in the first hour and a half, which is about how long those carbohydrates are going to circle in your body, you need to reload that. So the way that I think about it is, in the first hour and a half of practice, whatever's circulating in my system is what my body is using. But during that time, if I'm not refueling it, then in the second half of practice, I'm going to run out. So usually in the first half of practice, I'm drinking some kind of like an electrolyte with carbohydrates in it,
Mhm.
or I have some kind of a thing to, like, maybe an hour or so in, I have a little bit of like a snack of like some dried fruit, because otherwise you like gas out by the second half, and then you wonder why you're not performing the way you did before.
I do a protein shake and apples because I found that
Yes.
that's what hold like my body can handle that, and I'm not going to throw up on my teammates. You don't
Yep.
want to do that, so try it out at practice first. Whatever you're going to do, try it at practice first, and then do it for a bout so you don't throw up on your teammates. Yeah.
Yep. 100%. 100%. Wait, what is it? Yeah. Amy says oatmeal. Lacey says, I don't even know what that would be. Oh my gosh, Lacey. Yes. So this is great, Lacey. So thinking about whole food carbohydrates, right? Because most people think breads and pastas. So this is great. Sin says sweet potatoes, baby carrots. I
Sweet
was always told
potatoes.
to eat
Mm.
spaghetti or mac and cheese before about. Oh, Rosemary, I'm so sorry. I was also told to carb load. No, carb loading is not a thing, everyone. I'm
I think
so
it's just
sorry.
something that everyone, I mean, you think about it, no one teaches you how to be an athlete like you do.
No,
But like
we
up
do.
until I met you and your team, I was never taught what an athlete was. So like I even think back to like my high school and college days, and it's like that's what we were taught is carb loading. And it's like, so it's this big stereotype, and nobody ever told me not to do it until I met y'all. And then you were like,
Yeah.
don't do it. And I'm like, where have you been?
Right here, waiting to help you.
I know. I had to find you first.
I know.
And I had to
So
get out of
one of
my
the
own way.
and that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so then the fourth piece, speaking of getting out of your own way, so the fourth piece of really leveling up your endurance is mental conditioning,
Mhm.
because it is equally as hard to physically train your body as it is to mentally train your body. Because if you're in the second half of a game and you're tired and it's hard and your coach needs you to go in for a second jam, you have to be as mentally prepared as physically prepared. And so how has that been? What kind of game changers have there been for you in terms of like your mental conditioning, your building of confidence? What's that been like?
So that's actually my Sid and I just set me up for my second project for Thrive, and
Nice.
it's mental performance because that is something that I have a hard time with. I get in my own way. I am my biggest non-cheerleader. I'm my biggest like worst enemy. Like I'll get out there and I'll be like, that person's gonna run me right over and murder me. So maybe I should skate the other direction. I want to be a baddie, but like sometimes my brain is like, yeah, 4 foot what? Like you're not gonna take anyone out. And so Sin and I've discussed it. And I mean, of course, the group calls and all of that, but I have been reading a couple of different books
Mhm.
on confidence and mental performance. And then I've started listening to some podcasts that are specifically on mental performances and how different mindset and exercises to do to like help me get past myself. Cause it's just me. Like I will have teammates that are like, you killed it. You did amazing. And I'm like, yeah, but did you see what I did over there? But that's like me. I'm a recovering like perfectionist. And like, so to me, I'm like, well, I didn't do it perfect. So obviously I suck, you know? So,
Yep.
But I mean, being able to do the hard things, like I've never done a box jump. And then you guys were like, hey, do box jumps. And I was like, what is that? And I was like, I'm going to fall flat on my face. And now I do box jumps and like sitting box jumps. What is that? And so as I'm doing all these workouts and stuff and then seeing them translate on the track, I've gained confidence in myself and how to do things, but I am still my worst enemy. So I've been working on things outside to work on strengthening that.
Yeah. And I think a big thing that you said too is that the confidence on the track comes from the training that you're doing off the track.
Yeah.
And most people think, oh, well, when I get the confidence, then I'll do the thing. But it's like the confidence comes from the preparation. Confidence comes from knowing I've been working hard at this and then now I can do it. Your confidence to go in for that second jam in a row, that third jam in a row, comes from, okay, I know that I can do an hour-long hard workout.
Yes.
So a lot of this mental conditioning happens during the off skates training. It's pushing yourself through the really hard workout, which, by the way, I'm totally going to make Sin make you do 100 burpees per time. I'm sorry.
No.
Sin, I know you're watching right now.
Okay. It's not that I don't like burpees. It's boring to do 100 in a row. I told her, like, she said to me, she was like, hey, you're about to be on like is it week 0 of your phase 2. So she's like, I'm going to go ahead and give you another week of what you've had. And I was like, oh, okay. I wouldn't have even known because I don't keep, I don't like count. I just like show up and whatever you guys tell me to do is what I do. And so I said to her, I have such a hard time when you guys are like during benchmarks and I have to count. I am so focused on trying.
But think about it.
What
happens during roller derby? You have to count points during roller derby, don't you?
No.
You need to know who's a point and who's not a point on your team. Are you a point? Which one of your team members is a point? Which member of the other team is a point? So that you can make sure that
I don't pay attention to any of that. I just brace people and hit people.
No, this is your next level strategy because it's not about keeping track of the score. It's not about keeping track of the score. It's about knowing which person you need to take the fuck out so that your jammer can get them and be a point.
Sure, but I don't think about it in a math perspective. But also, every time I go to do burpees, every single time, I'm on the wrong side of the mat. So like the timer will start and I'm standing at the back of the mat. And then I'm like, wait, no, my arms are going down. I'm going to go back. Like every single time, I forget what I'm supposed to do with a burpee. So
that's okay. Lucky for you, there won't be any timing in 100 burpees for time other than starting the timer.
I'll have to have my husband come in and time it for me or my daughter, and they'll just sit there and then I'll make them cheer for me.
No, yeah, you just got to hit start and then stop when you're done. It's great.
Yeah.
But it's really good for mental conditioning. I challenge anyone on this call to do 100 burpees for time. Comment below with hashtag, but did you die if you've ever done 100 burpees for time with us.
I know there's quite a few because in our group call, they were discussing it. I was like, then I will ghost you. Like
it's a thing. You wait, so you skipped out on it in the challenge, you cheater?
No. Oh, wait. You mean in our 21-day challenge? We did 100, didn't we? Listen, I had COVID during my 21-day challenge, so the whole thing is kind of fuzzy because I was half dying, like in the middle of that. So I don't remember much of January. Plus, I've done like a million workouts with you guys since. So like, there's other ones that have, clouded. That's true. I did do it in the 21-day challenge.
Yeah, you did. All right, then Sin, she doesn't have to do it. Sin, if you're listening.
I totally forgot about that. See, look, I purged it from my brain. It was awful.
Blacked it out. That's all right. All right, my friends. So hopefully this is helpful. So again, just to recap, strength training in a circuit workout, training duration, doing hour-long workouts. Number 3, nutrition and hydration, making sure you are carb eating before your workout, not loading the night before, eating carbohydrates during your practice during the first half so you have fuel for the second half. Electrolytes so that you can replenish what your body is losing, and then doing the mental conditioning, which comes from number 1 and number 2. So I did tell you at the beginning of the call that if you needed more help that I would show you how to do that. I mean, the reality is you don't need me as long as you execute this stuff. If you want to take what you've learned, but also you've seen the system, right? And you've seen maybe how beneficial it is, like Samantha said, to just like be able to show up and everything's laid out for you and you don't think about it and you just do it. So if you're someone who likes the idea of that, of like thinking less and just being able to do the stuff and not have to second guess it, we have set aside a few hours on our calendar this week for free 15-minute strategy sessions. So they're super quick with our strategy coach, Pam. And here's what she's going to do. She's going to help you set some goals for the next 6 months about where you want to go with your Derby career. And then, I mean, think about that. Where do you want to be 6 months from now? How sick would it be to be coming into the new season on freaking fire? Okay. We'll uncover any roadblocks that are getting in the way of you really unleashing this amazing, most confident version of yourself on the track. And then we can set up a 16-week roadmap for implementing it. So I will drop the link in the show notes and the chat. And then that way you guys have it. If you're listening to the recording, it will also be in, it'll be in the notes for the video, so you can find it there. I don't know why it doesn't want to let me do it. There we go. I found it. Here we go. Boom. Put that there. And then here's the deal. I mean, like, just consider, right? If you're listening to this or you're watching this, you showed up here because you want to level up your nerds, right? And the season is passing by quickly. Okay. So if you are tired of spinning your wheels and second guessing yourself, put this framework into use. Sometimes I think the things that we share sound very simple, and sometimes people are like, oh, that's so simple, but then they never actually do it because it sounds so simple. But the reality is this framework works. This framework has worked for over 500, almost 600 athletes in Crash Course and Transformation. It freaking works if you execute it, right? Yeah. But if you don't want to have overwhelm, then click the link and we can do it. But there's no way around it. You just have to do the work, whether you do it alone or whether you do it with us. The only way to roller derby greatness is through. So let's go. So Samantha, thank you so much for joining us. I'm just so proud of you, dude. And it has been so incredible watching your journey and supporting you along the way. And I'm just so excited to see where you go in this next year of phase 2 and Crash Course. And it's incredible. So keep up the good work. Thank you so much for taking the time to share with everybody else. And and we'll see you later.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, guys. See you. Bye.